Peacock fans, to another episode of Peacocks on the Prowl. I'm Jim Lowry, and sitting with me today is head coach of the wrestling team, Heath Grimm. Coach, nice to have you here.
Good to be here.
All right, Coach, now it looks like we have a addition here to our set today. Why don't you go ahead and tell the people at home what this is?
It's obviously a piece of hardware from the National Dual Meet Championships. It's the fourth year in a row that we've done that. And actually it's 8 out of the last 9 or 9 out of the last 10. So, it's kind of become the norm for us to get out there and to come home with some hardware. What's unique about this one is that it's in the top 6, and that's where it's most important. So it automatically becomes an exemption into next year's National Dual Meet Championships. In case you take 7th or 8th, then you still got to fill out an application for the next year to get invited back to it. So getting in the top 6 is always something that we're striving to get done.
All right, Coach, and talking about the dual meets, you guys obviously 5th place. You had a lot of people do really well in their matches. Why don't you talk about 2 or 3 that really stood out for you?
Well, like Colbey Vance was a kid that went undefeated. He wrestled in 4 of the 5 dual meets that we were in. And then also Zach Benitz was undefeated as well. So our 165-pounder and 174-pounders, combined 8-0 is a pretty good day, and they beat some really good kids. A guy like Zach Benitz takes down an All-American, that's ranked pretty high in the country, for whatever those rankings are worth. But it was a good match for Zach, especially against the #1 team in the country. Zach really kind of turned the momentum ball around in that dual meet, which then led into Colbey Vance at 174 pounds, picking up a 4-0 win over another solid wrestler from Maryville. And then that actually led into Dalton Westerland at 184 pounds, upsetting, or I guess in the public's eye, upsetting, this kid from Maryville that was the NCAA runner-up last year. So that was a real big win for Dalton personally, but it was a nice string, and it kind of got some momentum going. It turned some heads, I know, in the stands that the upright was there, and we were game for this challenge versus those guys.
All right, Coach, now going into the final duel of the match, you guys were going up against Nebraska Kearney. It was the 5-6 match to see where your place was going to be. You guys had some of the alternates wrestling there, and early on it didn't look like you guys were going to be able to pick this one up, but going into the final 3 matches, magic happened. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about it?
Yeah, down 17 points. So, obviously there's a max of 18 points that can be earned yet in those final 3 weights. And 184, Dalton Westerland went out there. He's a prominent starter for us and pretty good at throwing. And this guy from Kearney was pushing into him quite a bit, and Dalton turned the tables on him there and used that kid's momentum and push and put him on his back, and it seemed like as soon as the kid went to his back, he was done. So it was a quick fall there in the first period to put it down to 11. At 197, we were getting ready to wrestle their 2-time NCAA champion, and we were really licking our chops. I thought this would have been a great opportunity to pick him off because the round before the kid lost and was totally empty. His gas tank was on E. They had to help him up off the mat. He laid there for 2 minutes. So it would have been a great opportunity for Parmalee to wrestle him. They decided not to wrestle. So I think one of our athletes said the kid was just looking at their coach, giving them the "I'm not wrestling" signal. So we take the 6. So we're now down to 5 points. That Avery Jacobs got a hold of himself, I think, mentally a little bit there. Obviously, being a true freshman, wrestling at the national duels, wrestling the #3 team in the nation, there's a lot of anxiety there, and I think Avery did as well as he could at this moment of his career to get a hold of himself and try to wrestle in positions that he's good at and give himself an opportunity to do something special. And he did that, and he hit one of his moves that he likes and that he's come into the room with. And as he's getting taken down, he hits a little bit of a roll action and puts the kid on his back and is able to adjust into a reverse half and just be able to get all his weight put up on the guy's chest. And at that moment in time, we're on our feet, getting pretty crazy, and hoping to see that official raise his hand and slap the mat. And sure enough, Avery didn't miss out on that opportunity to get that fall and seal the meet for us. And you can tell by his reaction, I think he was pretty excited about it as well.
All right, Coach, coming back off the national duels and your guys' great performance there, you're going to have your first duel of the new year, first conference duel of the year. It's Minnesota State Moorhead coming in on Friday. What are you kind of looking for from the team in that one?
Yeah, just to really pick up where we left off. functioning, as a unit, 1 through 10, 25 through heavyweight, making sure that, we end the dual meet definitely with more points on the board than them. But also there's some individual battles that I'm really looking forward to and we're going to address tonight in practice. At 133 pounds, we need to turn that match around. That's someone that we've been losing to over the last couple of years. And the same thing at 157 pounds, Jordan Rinkin needs to turn that match around. And it's a great opportunity to do that in our home gym. As far as those other 8 weights, there's definitely some challenges that are going to come, but a lot of those kids that they're putting on the mat are younger. We're going to actually put Lincoln Monroe in at 125 and give him another start. So I think that's going to be a great opportunity for him. But just more progression. We keep talking about that maturation with skills, with strategy, and so here's another opportunity to do that.
And there you have it, folks. That's all we have with Coach Heath Grimm, but we'll have Zach Benitz coming right up. Welcome back, Peacock fans. I'm joined now by Zach Benitz. Zach, nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so day 1, national duels. You're out there in Indianapolis. Kind of tell us, before the first match, what was going into your mind?
It was just a cool experience. I went there my first year at Upper Iowa, and I like being there. There's good competition. I like the team atmosphere that you don't get earlier in the season.
All right, so you guys had 3 matches on day 1. You wrestled in all 3 matches. You won in all 3 matches. Why don't you go ahead and tell us, some of the stuff you remember? I mean, I know when you're out there wrestling, you're not trying to compartmentalize, oh yeah, I did this, this, and this. But what stands out to you about those 3 matches?
I just wrestled in positions that I'm best at. That was the best thing why I've been wrestling good lately is I'm best on 2-on-1 ties and wrestling more physical and upper body rather than shooting a lot, which is different than some other people's styles. And I was in those positions, which led me to winning those matches and kind of dominating the matches I was in this weekend.
All right, and then on day 2, you guys had Tiffin. That was to decide, if you guys were to go in the 5th, 6th, or 7th, 8th match duels to finish up the match. Tiffin was a hard-fought match the entire way. Kind of talk about your performance then.
I just knew that I had to go out there and win, and if I could, I'd get bonus points, help the team out a little bit more. And I just went out there and I got the win. I never did get the extra bonus points, but I did my job and won my weight.
Now, when you're at the national duels, you're looking out at the mat, you see some of the lighter weights going before you. What's going through your mind when you're waiting on the sideline to wrestle your match?
I'm more laid back. I watch those guys and more relaxed in the opening tournament. And I start loosening up, watching the smaller guys wrestle, and then when it starts getting to my time, I flip a switch and then I'm ready once I step on that mat.
Now, going into the final duel of the match, you guys were going up against Nebraska Kearney. You're down 17 going into the final 3 wrestlers. You saw a pin. You guys picked up that forfeit. And in the first 30 seconds of the final match with Avery Jacobs, you guys see him take his opponent to the mat. Is it exciting at that point for you, sitting on the bench watching that? Is that something, can you get excited for that?
It was exciting. At first I wasn't because I wasn't even aware that it's a possibility for us to come back. I was actually putting on my warm-up and getting ready to take a picture for 6th place. And we saw Dalton win, then they forfeit, and then Avery got a pin. I still didn't know we won as a team. So I walk out on the mat and I was excited because as a freshman that got a pin on a big duel. And then I look at the team score. I was like, wow, we actually just won that one. So that was kind of exciting, yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that's all we have with Zach Benitz, but stay right there. We have Colbey Vance coming right up. And we're back, Peacock fans. Joining me now is Colbey Vance. Colbey, nice to have you here.
It's good to be here.
All right, now, as we've been talking with people, it was a great time for you guys in Indianapolis at the national duels. You've been there before. Was this time any different than the previous years you've been there?
Yeah, this year was a whole lot better. My first year there, when I was a redshirt freshman, I won 2 matches and I beat the same kid, so it didn't feel very good. It wasn't a very good year. The second time, I had a good first day and then a bad second day, so it was, kind of a good but bad. And then this year, I went 4-0. Just didn't really think about last year or the year before, and just try to clear my head and just go out there and wrestle like it's any other match.
All right. Speaking day 1, 3-0 on day 1, that's got to be great for you. did you just feel the entire way like you were in control of those matches, or at any point did you kind of get a little bit nervous that something was getting away from you?
So yeah, the first match, I knew the kid wasn't anything special, and I tried to go out there and pin him right away and end up getting myself in some bad positions and gave up a few points, and then I just kind of needed to hang on to the match and end up barely beating him by 2 points. So whatever, I got to win. Then the second match was against Maryville, number 1 team in the nation, and their kid at 174 was also number 1. I've wrestled him before. I've lost to him 3 times over the years. And was expecting to go out there, and I was mentally prepared for that. But then they threw a backup in, so I had to kind of re-engage my strategy. And the kid was pretty solid, and went out there and beat him 4-0. And I figured out later, as a kid, I lost to in high school, so it felt good to get a little redemption there. And then the third match, we were expecting to go out there and beat this team. We knew we were better, but we all had to perform. So I just did my job, and I put the kid on his back a few times and beat him, I think, 12-2 or something like that. So got the major, got the bonus points, and felt pretty good that first day. So I went 3-0.
All right, so going 3-0 on the first day, first match of day 2 is against Tiffin. Go ahead and tell us about that one.
Well, and it was definitely an important duel. We either win that or lose that. If we lose, we go for 7th and 8th, and then if we win, we go for 5th, 6th. And it feels a lot greater to be in the top 6. As Grimm mentioned before, we get the invitation automatically if we take top 6. So I was feeling a little bit of pressure. I wanted to go out there and get some bonus points, and I actually wrestled their starter in the tournament before. And he didn't weigh in the second day, so that felt good weighing in and seeing a backup in there. So I went out there and, pinned him the first period, business as usual.
All right. Now, in the final duel of the match, you guys were against Nebraska Kearney. First 7 matches, it wasn't looking good for you guys, down 17. You were in the same position as everyone else, waiting on the last 3 matches. You guys got 184, you got the forfeit at 197, then Avery Jacobs steps in with a chance to win it all if he can get a pin. On the sideline, on the bench there, what's going through your mind as you're watching Avery take the mat?
Well, I actually didn't see the score. They didn't have it showing right away. They would show it in between matches, so I didn't know the score at the time. I knew we were losing, and at that point, that's all it was. So I didn't think we could win there. I thought the deal was already sealed. And they actually called us into the mat for 6th place, so everybody else thought we were taking 6th place. And then all of a sudden, Avery goes out there and gets taken down, then rolls the kid through, puts him on his back, and I see Coach Grimm jumping up and down, freaking out. A little too much for a pin, if you ask me. Then I figure out that it's to win it. So I kind of joined them, and felt good taking 5th place, and it felt good seeing Avery win the duel for us.
And that's all we have with Colbey Vance, folks, but stay right there. We have Avery Jacobs coming right up. And we're back, Peacock fans. Joining me now is Avery Jacobs. Avery, nice to have you here.
Nice to be here.
All right, so going into the national duels in Indianapolis, you're a true freshman. So what's it like going into that kind of situation, first time, big time college tournament?
It's definitely pretty nerve-wracking. It was a great experience. It was just cool to be there. Kind of getting adjusted to these really long bus rides, places like that. Second time being in Indiana this year. Definitely was a little bit overwhelming when you first walk in and you see 30-plus mats laid out. And, lots of stands and just a big environment. But overall, it was pretty great just being there.
All right, first day, you guys are going to have 3 matches. No matter what, you guys are going to have 3 matches. You're going into the first match. What's going through your mind?
Well, actually, Coach came back to me and wanted to know if I actually wanted to wrestle because we had it in the bag by the time I got up there. And I've actually had a knee injury. So, he said it was up to me, and I wanted to get back out there to feel it out. But definitely was kind of nervous because, I knew we were good, but it definitely high stakes. Wanting to get back out there and not wanting to let anybody down. I wrestled good for not being on the mat for a while. Wasn't able to get the win, but definitely helped build my confidence up for what I was going to have to deal with.
All right, so skipped match number 2. You were back in the rotation for match number 3. What's going through your mind as you're watching the team progress?
Definitely a little bit of nerves again to try to make sure we got to the second day. But everybody's good and everybody did their job, and I was able to go out with not as much stress and just wrestle, still trying to get back into the swing of things, and had a good kid, but I did what I could. So.
I know wrestling heavyweight, having to watch everyone else go in front of you, I'm kind of nerve-wracking having to go last, I'm assuming. But, is there a little bit less stress if your team's way up?
Definitely. When you know that what you can go out and just be who you are on the mat and just wrestle and do your stuff, definitely a lot better than knowing you have to wrestle conservative and have a goal, for the team. It's always a lot less stressful and a lot better.
All right, so day 2, your first match is against Tiffin. You weren't on the roster for that one. And then against Nebraska Kearney for the 5th, 6th match there, figuring out places. Coach comes to you, tells you that you're going to be, the anchor, heavyweight against Nebraska Kearney. And the team wasn't performing that well. You guys come down to the last 3 wrestlers. At that point, down 17, what's going through your mind?
I mean, I thought it was more than 17. I was kind of getting a little bit disappointed. But I mean, I knew we were in the top 6 for sure, so that was good. But I didn't think there was any chance at that point.
So you're on the bench. You're down 17. You watch Dalton Westerland grab a pin in the last 30 seconds. Of the first round of his match. You guys are waiting on the bench. 197 forfeits, and all of a sudden, here you are, with 5 points separating the two teams, and with a chance to win it all for the team. Were you nervous beforehand? Did your coach come over and say anything to you? What was going on before your last match?
Well, first off, it came a lot faster than I expected because I'm just kind of starting to get warmed up, getting loose, knowing that I still had 2 weights to go, and then all of a sudden Dalton pinned his guy, and then right away Parmley goes out and gets the forfeit. So it all kind of happened really fast. I mean, I had a little bit of nerves going and went out on the mat, not realizing that I had a chance to win it. Looked down at the score, kind of saw it, kind of figured it was wrong, but they had some technical difficulties. So I had about 5 minutes that I had to stand there just at the table waiting. And coach came out and said I had a chance to do something special here. He said, this guy likes to push in. Just do your stuff and try to do something great. And he's like, we have a chance to win this. And that's when I finally realized that we were in range of beating Kearney. And then at that point, my adrenaline just kind of spiked and nerves went through the roof. And I guess that's kind of a feeling I haven't really had a chance to get too much since high school. I wrestled better like that. I just kind of that high pressure has kind of been missing. Because I haven't performed as well as I wanted to. And at that point, I kind of got pumped and got ready to do what I knew I had to.
Walking onto the mat, as you said, there was about a 5-minute delay before your match. Having Coach Grimm tell you that you had a chance to win it all for the team, walking onto the mat right before the referee blew his whistle to start it. What was the last thing that went through your mind before the whistle blew?
Well, within that last second, there's definitely a lot. All the possible things I'm going to do right off the whistle, what it means to the team for me to get the pin, and just what I was thinking I could do to this guy. But besides that, everything's pretty blank and focused just on that match at that point in time.
So the whistle blows, you guys kind of get into a clinch there, and then all of a sudden, you guys are going down on the mat. What happened? Kind of walk us through. I know it all happened that fast, but kind of walk us through what happened.
Well, he got an underhook on me after I kind of tried to get mine, and he had his arm wrapped around my back, and his hand was on my other side, and it's kind of like a position I wanted to be in. So when he tried stepping in and tripping, I didn't really hesitate a whole lot to go down to the mat. It didn't look very good at the time, but as soon as I hit that mat, I just used that momentum and pinched his arm in and kicked my leg and rolled through and took him straight to his back. When we got down there, it was kind of all really slow motion. Definitely seemed a lot longer than 30 seconds. I think it was fought his arm or his leg off, and he was turning hard, but I kept his wrist and slowly turned around and hooked under his head and just squeezed as hard as I could.
What was the feeling when you heard the ref slap the mat?
I mean, it was crazy. I mean, I remember the fans screaming, coaches and all my teammates just yelling, jumped up and celebrated, and it was just the best feeling I've had in a long time.
All right, and there you have it, Peacock fans. An absolutely spectacular win for your Peacock wrestling team, finishing out the national duels with a historic win that'll be talked about for a long time. You'll be able to see your 5th place national duel champion Peacocks this weekend as Friday night they take on Minnesota State Moorhead here in Dorman Gymnasium. It's their first duel of the new year. Come on out and support your Peacocks. Until next time, Peacock fans, I'm Jim Mullen.